reflect on their leadership journey and really what led them to write these books. So I think we'll start there, and I'll hand this to, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And you have your mic. So
I have my mic.
I'm
You
going to
do.
sit. I just wanted to see everyone
Yes.
before I started.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going first?
Yes.
Is this, yes. Well, welcome. It's so wonderful to be here with all of you tonight. So as many of you know, I'm an educator. So I began my life as a teacher, didn't expect to go into leadership necessarily, but as I went along in my career, just wanted to make a difference and step up. But I had some limiting beliefs that I had to unpack and dismantle before I could step into further responsibility. And so I learned a lot from different people. And then when I was first appointed a principal, I thought, what did I ever do to prepare me for this? And so in many ways, this book is writing a book that I wish I'd had as a young leader. But the other thing I see is that as women, our lives change through various iterations, pre-kids, with kids, grandkids, aging parents, working, refirement or retirement. And so it's so important for us to keep reflecting and thinking about who we are, what we want to offer the world, and how we can keep making a difference in sustainable ways. So I had this was born in some of my doctoral work, and they said you should write a book, and I was like, how, when, and so it was really in moving to Nova Scotia a couple of years ago that I found the space and time to do the deep thinking and start writing. So yeah, this feels like a dream come true to be here at Audreys with all of you, and then to share the message and help others think, how can we step into our best life and our greatest contribution to the community. So
Yeah. So just like Kathy, myself as well, my book is based on my doctoral work. The reason why I wanted to write the book, well, goes back to the reason why I wanted to do my PhD. And so I took a 10-year hiatus from my master's to my PhD. I was already working as a manager with the government of Alberta, and we'll get to how we met in a moment, but that's where we met. And as I was moving upwards in my career, I found that it was just because you're really good at your job as an informal leader, or what we call an individual contributor, doesn't mean that when you get promoted to a formal leadership position that the skills that you have naturally transfer seamlessly to a leadership role. And what I discovered was we don't do a good job, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether it's what sector, public, private, nonprofit. There's similarities in regards to, we promote people that are really good at what they did in terms of why we hired them, and then we just hope and pray that they figure it out when they become a leader. And the role of the job fundamentally changes. In many ways, you have to be a psychologist, a therapist, a social worker, and also be a really good manager when it comes to systems thinking, strategic planning, budgeting, and I thought we were doing a disservice to our people. And we were both public servants. And when we fail as managers, our people fail. And when they fail, the community that we serve they fail too, right? They don't get the services that they need. So I decided to go back and do a thesis on, well, how do we better support managerial learning and development? Well, come on in. We have to find a room to put more chairs down for everyone. Hi. And so I thought I wanted to look at how not just to support people through formal training, which is my backgrounds in learning and development, but how do we leverage the workplace environment as a way to support everyday learning, which is really what my thesis was on. And so when I completed it, I always had a passion to write the book. I wanted to actually resign from government, start my own business. And I thought, this is one way that could really situate me as a thought leader and an expert. It's a great business card. It's a good way to promote yourself. And I know managers are really busy, so I wanted to make it quite short and sweet. And as my husband says, it's a good bathroom read. So yeah. Couple of bathroom breaks, you should get right through it. So yeah, that's my story.
Excellent. No, thank you both for that. I kind of want to dive into some of the themes of the book. When we again met last week, there were a few that we pulled out that some consistent themes. So the first one was around self-awareness and learning, which both of you touched on quite a bit in terms of your own experience and reflections, lots of vulnerability in there that I appreciated kind of being able to read and connect with. Some great reflection questions, but I'll start with a question for you, Joanna, and then Kathy, you can kind of add your bit. So Joanna, the book emphasizes the importance of learning in leadership and self-awareness. So how do you believe self-awareness contributes to effective leadership? And I believe there's an excerpt that you might want to start with. I'll let you decide.
Right. Yeah, let me start with the excerpt. That's a good idea. I was going to chat about it a bit first, but let me start with that, and then it'll lead me into what I discovered. So my research, I interviewed managers, supervisors, and directors. And when I interviewed them, I just wanted to know, like, how do you do what you do? How did you learn to do what you do? And through that, some things came out that I wasn't expecting necessarily. And one of those things was emotional intelligence. And so let me read the excerpt and then I'll get into it a little bit more. So this one specifically, obviously about specific to self-awareness. So managers express the importance of being aware of their strengths and limitations so they can continually develop and grow. So here's one quote. When I get to the situation where I run out of things, of knowledge, I have to reboot or re-educate myself to new things. My competencies haven't changed a lot, but I have to focus on improving them. Curtis also reiterated that importance of accurate self-assessment. You have to be willing to accept that you don't know everything. Rely on the people that know more than you. You have to be open, willing to change and accept change. Know the things you can't control, you were just saying, like political influence and budgets, and you have to be positive. I think that is a conscious decision every day. You have to be what you want everyone else to be. And I think this is poignant and really true, whether you want to be that on that day or not. Right? Yeah. And so when I was doing my candidacy exam, which is when before you get approval to go and do your research, you have to sit in front of a panel of professors and they grill you, and they basically then give you permission to go ahead and conduct your research. And one of the professors there, who I really admired and had a lot of respect for, she said, "Sounds like you're conflating," and I know we're going to get into leadership and management. You're conflating leadership and management. I think they're very different. And I was like, okay. She's like, I encourage you to research that. I'm like, sure, I will. But she was really right. And I was conflating them because I thought if you're a good manager, you have to be a good leader. To me, what's the difference? But they are very different competencies. And that's what came out. And when I started to analyze the data in my research, and I was looking at all of the quotes and the themes that I had written on flip charts around my wall, was like, and I think I write this in the book too, it was like a hand came out of the flip chart and slapped me across the face and said, they're talking about emotional intelligence. That's what they're talking about. And self-awareness is the first domain of emotional intelligence. And how without, and we, in our workshop yesterday, we said out of the 4 domains, and some of the other domains really focus on self-management, regulation, developing really positive relationships with other people, conflict management. I said, which one do you think is the most important? And they said self-awareness, because if you're lacking self-awareness, how do you grow? And here's the thing with self-awareness that I discovered was if you really want to develop it, it's not always a pleasant journey. It can be quite painful and uncomfortable, especially when you come face to face to an unconscious bias you have. And you start to feel a certain kind of way when someone says something, you get defensive. And people who are really working on becoming more self-aware question the defensiveness and take a step back and don't attack, but pause and think and reflect, which is very hard. I mean, how many of us have lost our cool sometimes, right? And we learn through that. And that's what self-awareness is. It doesn't mean we're perfect. It's not about perfection. It's about practice and intentional effort. And so I appreciated what they said. And to me, that was the foundation to everything. If you can work on that, the competency in the other domains will come. And if you're not self-aware, then you kind of hit a wall there when it comes to learning. They're very intricately linked. And that was the other thing I learned. The more emotionally intelligent you are, the more better you're a better learner. Yeah, and it starts with self-awareness.
Great. Maybe I'll jump in just because I'm curious. Kathy, you integrated so many really great reflection questions throughout the book, I think, in an effort to help people become more self-aware. So I want to give you a chance to add to some of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, you hear that all the time. Oh, you need to be more self-aware. You need to take care of yourself. But what does that really mean? And so few people tell you, what does that actually look like? And so as I was a new leader and trying to figure things out, I had developed some journaling strategies that really helped me. And one was, as a new principal, weekly, I would reflect on what did I like about this week? What did I do well? What didn't I like? What would I do differently? So it doesn't have to be daily. You think, oh, I can't fit that in, but just weekly. And that helped me be more attuned to what am I liking? What do I want to move more towards that? And if I'm not liking it, is there an option? Can I delegate that? Or do I need to learn something? But it helps us move in that direction of our thriving, to know what we're liking. And when you have a great day, what made it a great day? How can you get more of that in your life? If it's a bad day, what made it a bad day? Do you need to eat breakfast? Did you need to take that 5 minutes to just breathe and think before you had that meeting? And so it looks different for each of us, but that taking time to reflect regularly is absolutely critical to knowing, where are my learning edges? You know, what was the trigger there? How do I do better the next time? With who I am and what I'm in control of.